Imagine walking through Times Square right now. Not the version you know. The version where every person around you, the businesswoman with the coffee, the kid with the ice cream, the street performer on the corner, each one has a tail. Some short and stubby. Some long and fluffy. A man in a suit adjusts his tail behind him as he checks his phone. A toddler wags hers like a happy dog while her mother scolds her to stop touching the merchandise. Now imagine the clothing industry trying to design pants for that. Pause. This is not a fantasy exercise. This is almost literally what happened. 50 million years ago, our ancestors had tails. Gorgeous, expressive, muscular, useful tails. And then, poof, most of us don't anymore. Let's rewind the clock. Way back. 30 million years ago, in the lush rainforests of what is now Southeast Asia, our earliest primate ancestors were doing what primates do best, swinging from branch to branch, doing absolutely zero pull-ups, and accidentally inventing the world's first fitness trend. Their tails were not decoration. They were engineering marvels. The tails of these ancient primates could stretch up to a meter long, covered in dense fur, with a specialized bundle of muscles at the base that worked like a fifth limb. These tails served as counterweights. Think of them as the biological equivalent of a tightrope walker's pole. When the primate leaped 30 feet from one tree to another, the tail would swing in the opposite direction, providing torque and mid-air steering. Some species could literally land on a specific branch by adjusting their tail mid-flight. This is not speculation. We have the fossils. We have the muscle attachment points on ancient tail vertebrae. We have trackways showing tail impressions in ancient mud. This was real. Our ancestors were basically long-tailed acrobats in a perpetual Cirque du Soleil. And then, they stopped. About 6 million years ago, something changed. Our ancestors started coming down from the trees. The forests were shrinking. The savanna was expanding. And slowly, painfully, gloriously, they began to stand upright. There was no evolution committee sitting around going, you know what would be great? If these apes just decided to walk on two legs and lost their tails. Very aerodynamic. Very sophisticated. No. What happened was messier. Random. Brutal. The ones who could walk a little straighter, even just slightly, had a better view over the tall grass. They could spot predators earlier. They could carry food in their hands while walking. And most importantly, this is the cold, hard truth, the ones who could sprint on two legs when a lion attacked were the ones who lived to reproduce. Natural selection doesn't care about elegance. It cares about alive. And somewhere along this brutal, terrifying, life-or-death optimization process, the tail became unnecessary. Pause. Think about what that means. For millions of years, our ancestors had an appendage that took decades to grow, required constant grooming, used precious calories to maintain, and in an open savanna environment where there were no branches to swing from, it was essentially a decoration with a downside. Something that could get caught in thorns. Something that could be grabbed by predators. Evolution is not a designer. It's an editor. And the tail got cut. Here's where it gets weird. And beautiful. And a little creepy. Every single one of you listening right now, yes, you, was once a tailed creature. At about 4 weeks after conception, your embryo develops a tail. It contains between 10 and 12 vertebrae. It's got muscles, it's got nerves, it's got blood vessels. It's a real tail. For a brief, glorious moment in your fetal development, you are technically, taxonomically, a tailed animal. Then, around week 8, something extraordinary happens. The tail stops growing. The vertebrae fuse together. And by the time you're born, all that remains is your coccyx, your tailbone, buried at the base of your spine. It's still there right now. Touch the spot just above your butt crack. That's your ancestral tail. That's the fossil of a body part your species stopped using 6 million years ago. So in a strange, poetic way, the tail lives on. Just, compressed. Condensed. Like a library book that got returned and turned into a single page of notes. Now let's do the thought experiment. The fun part. What if that regression never happened? What if humans, Homo sapiens, the species writing this script, the species building rockets and writing poetry, what if we still had fully functional tails? Let's start with the practical stuff. First, furniture design. Every chair, every car seat, every toilet in the world would need a redesign. You'd need a hole in the back of your pants. Tailored clothing would take on a whole new meaning. Second, dating and attraction. Evolutionary biologists would have an absolute field day. Would we find long tails attractive? Would there be tail length preferences? Would people get tail extensions? Would there be tail dating apps? Insert punchline about swipe right for prehensile skills. Third, the nervous system. Our brains would need to process an entirely new appendage. And not just process it, we'd need dedicated motor cortex real estate. The human brain already dedicates enormous space to hands, which is why we have such fine motor control. A tail would need similar neural real estate. Our skulls might have evolved slightly differently to accommodate this. Tails are communication devices. Dogs wag them when happy. Cats puff them up when scared. Monkeys use tail positions to signal dominance, submission, sexual readiness. A significant portion of monkey communication happens below the waist, or rather, behind it. If we still had tails, we would have never developed the elaborate facial muscles humans have. Think about it, we have 43 facial muscles, more than any other animal on Earth. This is partly because we needed to communicate complex emotions without tails. Our faces became the new tail. Pause. But with tails? We might be walking around right now with blank, poker faces expressing our entire emotional state through tail position. How was your day, dear? Tail droops slightly to the left. Oh, it was fine. But here's where the story gets beautiful. Forget the practical jokes. Forget the furniture redesign. Let's talk about what we would actually gain. We would gain an entire new channel of emotional expression. Something deeper than words. Something older than language. Imagine holding someone's tail. Not in a weird way, in the way we now hold hands. Imagine the comfort of your partner's tail wrapped around yours while you watch a movie. Imagine a parent gently stroking their child's tail to soothe them to sleep. Some scientists, yes, there are scientists who study this, believe that the bond between parent and infant would be even stronger. Monkey mothers often hold their infants by the tail. It's a form of physical connection that humans, in our tailless reality, have replaced with carrying, cuddling, and the eternal struggle of trying to put a newborn in a carrier without dropping them. And think about athletes. Imagine a basketball player using their tail for mid-air balance. A gymnast with a built-in counterweight. A dancer with an extra point of graceful articulation. Our entire movement vocabulary would be different. More expressive. More fluid. The human dance would look like something between ballet and acrobatics, a fusion that would make Martha Graham weep. Here's the truth that hits hardest. We are not the species that didn't evolve tails. We are the species that traded them for something else. We traded raw arboreal agility for upright walking. We traded tree hopping for long-distance running. We traded tail-based communication for something far more sophisticated: language, facial expression, hand gestures, written word. Every single thing we gained, every tool, every symphony, every moon landing, every Shakespeare sonnet, every moment of reading these words right now exists because, somewhere in the brutal arithmetic of survival, our ancestors chose a path without tails. And it wasn't a choice, really. It was an accident. A series of accidents. A climate shift. A predator chase. A random mutation that made one slightly straighter spine just advantageous enough to pass on to more babies. Evolution doesn't plan. It just perseveres. Pause. So the next time you sit on a hard chair and your tailbone aches, that's 6 million years of history pressing on a single point of bone. That's the ghost of a tail that your body politely refused to completely delete. And maybe, somewhere in the quiet of the night, when you can't sleep and you're lying in bed and you feel that strange ache at the base of your spine. That's not just pain. That's memory. Thanks for watching. If this made you think, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell, because there's a whole universe of what-if stories waiting for you. And if you want more videos about the weird, wonderful, completely accidental history of human bodies, leave a comment below. I read every single one. I'll see you in the next one.